So what are we doing locally? Because that's the important bit. Our kids here in this county, all 171,000 odd of them. First of all, it starts here, or it continues here on our journey. We've got the toolkit that we're going to take you guys through today. We've got resources for the young people themselves, and we'll be developing more through some projects this year and hopefully next year on the Talk Out Loud forum. Those are specifically for the young people. We've redefined the acute self-harm and suicidal ideation pathway, which Julia will take you through shortly. We're actively working with the locality forums, as I've said. We're auditing those urgent care admissions, and we're developing a questionnaire for our acute self-harmers. So our prolific loyalty card members that come through the revolving door and say, "Hey, Julie, how's it going?" We're trying to get to the bottom of why. We have some theories, but we'll be doing a questionnaire with young people helping us to shape that. That's our short-term plan. But it isn't short-term, guys. This is building, and it's been building for a generation. And so it means that we have to take a joined-up approach to working on that. So we will be launching very soon. We're going through the drafts at the moment, and we hope that we'll have it signed off by November. We will have our emotional well-being and mental health strategy for the next 3 years here in Northamptonshire. And that will include lots of facets across all of our vulnerable cohorts of young people, around our long-term public health campaigns, around our intervention work, our partnership working, and all those sorts of things. The partnership working projects that we've got at the moment that lead into this is we're doing work around challenging sexualized behaviors and building tools similar to this to help you all in those situations. That seems to be growing nationally. Again, about 60% of perpetrators are under the age of 18 for child sexual exploitation. So there's a lot of work with the RISE team and others to build on that, and the two are often linked. Same with drug and alcohol misuse. We're working with our colleagues in public health to try and tackle that, and particularly the emergence of novel psychoactive substances, or so-called legal highs. Again, Julie and colleagues in the hospitals, we see far too many of them, sometimes as many as a dozen on a weekend. So, but we have to be very careful about how we work through those. And interpersonal violence, we've got a lot of work that's being led by the County Council in that area, with partners having a lot of input in there, to try and deal with what we call the toxic triangle. And the toxic triangle is poor adult mental health, which again, we're working on a parental mental health strategy, drugs and alcohol use in the home, and domestic or interpersonal violence in the home. So there's a lot of work there that often can present with self-harming behaviors as the symptom of dealing with those causations. Long term, what are we doing? Resilience. I don't know about you guys. I feel a bit weak compared to my parents and grandparents when I think about things as a parent myself. Resilience. There's a lot of questions about people not being so resilient these days. And so we're working on an initiative called 5 to Thrive. Hands up who's heard of 5 to Thrive here? Okay, not even a quarter by the looks of things. We need to try harder on that one. It only launched a few months ago, so you will hear more. That's about the 5 pillars of things that we all need to be resilient. To talk, to be responded to engage or cuddle, to play, and to relax. And often we find those 5 things, and it's based on international neurological developmental research, we find if any of those dimensions are lacking, quite often that impacts on our resilience, our depression and anxiety levels, and indeed can lead to self-harm. So in 7 years' time, hopefully sooner, but in 7 years' time, hopefully we'll start to see the fruits of the work that's going into that. Our TAMS program, we have colleagues here. Dr. Emma Rowley will be speaking today, and we've got John as well, John Forden. They work specifically in this area with a number of the schools. Some of you I know have engaged with them, and they've been doing some fantastic work for the last 5 years. And after the national pilots ended, this county took a brave step of continuing to fund in that area. And we think that that's been a part of why our growth trajectory for self-harm has been slightly lower than other parts of the country. We can't prove it, but that is our hypothesis. And we will continue to support that. So the schools that are in the highest 10 percentile of need are targeted to do some work in that area. If anyone's got any questions about it, there is a stand during the break. Please go and talk to them. They do some really great work. And the Talk Out Loud Anti-Stigma program, again, is about raising awareness in the schools and reducing stigma through PHSE modules and awareness campaigns. And we've got some really exciting plans I cannot wait to share with you guys on the run-up to Christmas for next year. The support of adult mental health is so key. And that's an area in our strategy we must improve upon, and we are going to do so. And the development of our community mental health, our community health services for children. So, lots of things going on in the long term. Like I said, the slides will be up there for you. I think the other thing that we need to talk about is that I hear a lot of frustrations voiced around not being able to access the services that people think a child or young person needs, concerns around waiting lists, all of those sorts of things. We're doing some massive work right now on a 2-year transformation to try and improve that, and we're already seeing some green shoots of improvements. We'll be sharing with you guys over the upcoming months the results. Yeah. So the transformation program, for those gaps, where do I go? We have some schools that are fantastic at using their pupil premium to think outside the box and do things. Some of them have hired family support workers, for example. And, those are great pieces of work, and we want to be able to share those case studies. Others, I have to say, do put referrals into health, and a great number of them are not deemed as appropriate. So what we're trying to do to make that work for everybody much more effectively, our GPs, for example, say, hey, Dave, it's too complex. And to be honest, we did the mapping. There's about 776 different pathways. So you notice that number came up for a second time. But we did the sort of mapping. There's 45 key pathways. We're working through those as a part of our transformation program. The first thing is that people need to recognize is we have a number of providers. And if in doubt, while we're going through this, ask Norman. The website will have on there, what are the concerns, what are the things I can do, and if I need to put in a referral, where do I put it? What's there to support it? For GPs, most of the stuff should be on Pathfinder. But for schools, for youth settings, for colleges, for police services, ask Norman really is your friend. But there are growing gaps. And there are issues where the police are copying for things, and they're doing a tremendous job, actually. And again, Julie's going to share a great story on that front. But we can do more, and that's what we are doing. Some of you were involved in our work last year. We had 320 engagement sessions over the course of 6 months to try and look at how we can improve health services and access to health services for children, young people, and their families. And on the back of that, we started our transformation program that said, first of all, come this July, we went live with our referral management center. On average, we get 129 referrals a day. That's a significant number of referrals. But what we've done is we've pulled together 12 discrete disciplines to work together. And on average at the moment, and remember we've just had summer, so the figures may change, but on average, within 72 hours, we've put a team around that family, can send a letter out and say, right, this is what's happening. And I've asked our partners to also put in the relevant parts of Ask Norman if it's mental health. For those that aren't meeting the criteria, within a few days of referral, particularly our primary mental health workers are phoning the referrers. And I know we've had a few people saying, well, I'm not always available for the phone call. But they're there to have that conversation to say, it doesn't meet the threshold because. But they've also been instructed to help signpost what you can do instead. And that's just the first phase. The next phase is we're working with our youth counselling partners, of which we have many here today. And with them, we're also looking at how can the referrals work between the services. So if it's something low lying, what do we do with peer support? If it's a little bit more intense, does that then go into counselling? If it's still a little bit more intense but not mental health, maybe there's a counselling plus approach. And then if it's clinical, it goes into clinical services or into NCC support services. We're working on that as we speak, and we're working across the partnership. And this model, it isn't as pretty as the ones on our website because we've had it skew out because of the screen here. But it shows you, although that looks complex, that's nothing compared to all the bits that slot into it. But the whole idea is we've got that one central point of referral. You've got your CAF coordinators that you can always talk to, and you've got your complex case panels each fortnight in your localities where you can discuss cases if you're not sure. That should often be your first point of call if you're not sure. Obviously, at the top end, if somebody's bleeding out or you're worried about their safeguarding, then we follow the appropriate procedures. If you think it is more complex than that, then we would ask you to put a referral in. And you might be saying, Dave, how do I know? Well, bear with us, folks. We're working on it right now. We're going through the mapping of all of those diagrams and trying to say, right, if it's this, it goes into universal. If it's that, it goes into target. And we're taking a leaf out of the County Council's thresholds and pathways way of working and looking to supplement that over the coming months. Then what's happening is we're putting teams around the children and we're trying to get much more robust statistics to see where things are slipping through the gap or where we have common trends that are arising geographically, age-wise, et cetera, so that we can help have those dialogues and help you guys achieve a much better set of outcomes. There are a number of websites that I would commend to you. They're all on Ask Norman anyway, but these, folks, are websites that are directly linked to work that we already do in this area. And so this will be on our website. You'll have access to those. If you don't know all of them, I really do commend you to have a look at them. And if you're not sure of what services are around, these are the ones that we commission amongst the youth counselling agencies. So you've got the localities that they service. They do take referrals. Obviously, if the floodgates open, they come screaming at me as a commissioner. But they are there. Please use them. We were on the BBC this morning with Stuart Linnell, and he said there's no help for self-harm other than the Opal Project website. And I had to come back and say, well, actually, yes, we've helped 11,000 people this year through all of these services. So there's plenty out there. We just need to keep talking. So, folks, enough of me chunnering on about it. I'm going to hand over to Julie Quincy now, who's going to take you through probably the most complex and challenging area, which is our acute presentations. Challenging in terms of the heartstrings, perhaps, but no less challenging after the coffee break. We'll then go in to look at the universal and targeted toolkit. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dave Lloyd-Hearn. Please do have a chat with me during the coffee break. Over to Julie Quincy.